Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before I do, let's talk about this week's tip. Now, there's a lot of different ways to collect currency, and all of them are correct. Any way you like to collect is a correct way. Okay, don't let anybody tell you that you are wrong. When it comes to prices and values, well, that's a different story. But you like what you like. And one of the more fun ways to collect currency is when you start targeting certain things. Now, one section of currency collecting that probably gets overlooked by beginners is called national banknotes. National banknotes are banknotes where a bank would put money on deposit with the federal government. The federal government would make sure that the bank was solvent and wasn't going to go under, and they would take the money that was on deposit and they would issue banknotes with that particular bank being shown as the backer of that individual note. Each bank was given a charter number and then was given the title national. So in your town, because everybody lives in some town, some city, whatever, the first bank to get that charter number became known as the First National Bank of insert town name here. All of you have heard of the First National Bank of your town. It may not exist in that form anymore. It was probably bought out by one of the bigger banks, but that's where that came from, the First National Bank. Now, if you were going to deposit large chunks of money and you wanted to make sure that you were going to be able to get that money back, you wanted to make sure that the bank wasn't going to go under. The average person didn't have a way to determine whether the bank was going to go under or not. But by having that national title, that gave people the security they were looking for in order to make deposits at that particular bank. So, being the first national bank of any given town was always an extremely high point in a bank's career. Now, there'd be second national banks and third national banks, but nobody cares about 2, 3, and 4. Everybody wants to know who number 1 was. So, that is the story behind national banks. Now, you can find almost any bank that existed back then. I shouldn't say any bank. You can find almost any town that existed back then to have had a national bank. There are close to 15,000 different national bank charters that have been issued. So one of the cool things to do is to try to collect notes from your specific town. Now, if your town only had one bank, it could be tough to find that particular note. But if you came from a larger town or a large city, there may be dozens or even hundreds of particular banks that gain that national title. That makes it a lot easier to collect. Then you've got the different denominations, and of course, you also have the different issuings. There were large size notes in the first charter period, as well as the second and third charters, but once you get to the third charter period, halfway through that, we switched over to small size currency. So now you've got small size versions, and then they came out with a type 2 version as well. So that's actually 5 different types of national notes that you could potentially collect for a single given bank if they were in business long enough. Anyway, so that's a little bit about nationals, and you'll see why I'm discussing those a little bit later on in the video. Here's my 1,000 singles. Let's get these out of the way and take a look at what I found this week. Found a pretty good stack. This first note, this is not an error. Okay, I know you guys have been watching my That's Not an Error series. This is not an error. This is a destroyed note. Somebody's going to tell you that this is a a bad paper error. No, it's not. Somebody will tell you this is an underprinting error. No, it's not. This is damage, complete with tape. This note is garbage. It's not an error. Don't fall for stuff like that. Found a note that somebody wrote on. It looks like PVT R. Taylor and then the date. I just thought that was neat. And then D-backs. So I'm sure they were baseball fans. I'm not saving this. It's just something that I found, so I'm showing it. Found a Where's George. Always checking out my Where's George notes. I will log this one right away. And another one. This one they used 2 different colors, so they really wanted it to be found, and they also put it on the back as well. Really crisp on that particular note. Birthday note, 2015, that would be the 16th of June. And then we get some trinaries, 1s, 3s, and 5s on this one. 0s, 6s, and 8s. It's kind of neat. 886, 00886. Not worth anything, just a trinary, but interesting nonetheless. 1, 4s, and 6s here. 1s, 3s, and 8s. Here's quads. Quad 1s. Quad 5s, really nice shape, and some stars. Now, once again, the reason I show all those trinaries and all those stars, or the trinaries and the quads, I know they're not worth anything. But knowing that they're not worth anything and seeing that there was only that many of them out of 1,000 lets you know how hard they are to find. And if those are kind of hard to find and they're not worth anything, imagine when you're finding that many in just a single strap of whatever it is you're looking for, whether it's ink overprints or wedding transfers or whatever the case is, rolled digits. If you can find 3 or 4 of them in a single strap, how does that compare to me with finding only 3 or 4 quads in 1,000? Yeah, and we all agree quads and trinaries aren't worth anything. So what does that say about when you find things that are 3 and 4 per strap? All right, back to the stars. 2017A, checking to see if it's filled. Not a filled star. Another 2017A, always checking those. 2017, really nice shape on this one. 2017 as well. 2017B, well, 2017B note. Another 2017 here. And yeah, you can kind of see this has got a little bit of that wedding transfer. Not worth anything because of that. It's probably worth less. 2017 again. And again, so I found quite a few stars in this particular group. Here's a 2013, and it's a B note, one of the duplicate run notes. And these, like I said, if you have the pair, they could be worth a few $1,000s. And I stress few thousand, meaning, $3,000-$4,000 for the pair. If you don't have the pair, you may not ever make the pair. So why would that make this note any better, considering the fact that, well, if they did make the pair of numbers and one of them was destroyed, you will never pair the numbers. So what value is there? Anyway, that's 2013, another 2013 star here. Lots of stars this week, another 2013. And some older notes, 2003A. I know a lot of you guys like to collect pre-1999, but to me, 2003, that's 20 years. So 2003A, not in the greatest shape. Do I save all these? No. I put all these in my pile, and then when I'm finished with my box, when my box is full, I go through these and I only keep the best of the best. So I save them just so I have something to compare. 2013A, another 2013A, 2013, 2003, 2003A, 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 and if you look here, this is dirt. It's not an error. 2003, 2001, so getting a little older. 1999, another 99 here. 1995, not a web note. A web note would just have the small digit there. Another 1995, another 95, another 95. I thought I unfolded most of those. That's okay, I'll worry about that later. 1988A, still not a web note. Another 88A, 88A. And the oldest note I found, this one's actually pretty crisp. It's a 1981. So that's what I found this week. What did I pull out? Well, I just added something to my collection, and I figured I'd show it to you. This is a $10 national banknote. You can see here it says national currency on the top. Now, they made national banknotes where a national bank is the entity that's backing this particular note. And you can tell that just by reading exactly what it says. Secured by United States bonds of deposit. Let me try that again. Secured by United States bonds deposited with the Treasurer of the United States of America. The Chase National Bank of the City of New York, New York, will pay to the bearer on demand $10. Okay. And then over here, redeemable in lawful money of the United States, at United States Treasury, or at the bank of issue. Now, this particular one you're going to see has the president of the bank of, well, I should say the Chase National Bank of the City of New York, and it has the signature of the cashier. And because it's U.S. currency, it also has the treasurer, and over here, the Register of the Treasury. So those are the national signatures, and these are the actual bank signatures. Now, this is actually what is known as a Type 2. A Type 2 note means that even though the small size notes started being printed in 1928, this is one of the late editions. This didn't get printed until 1933, and these were only printed from 1933, 34, and 35. It still says series of 1929 on there, but the Type 2 version, like I said, those were the last ones, only printed for those 3 short years. The way you can tell that it's a Type 2 is right here. You can see that it's got the charter number 2370 on it, and then it's got a serial number, but next to the serial number in the same color, they also put the charter number. So you've got 2370 here and here. Now, the Type 1s don't have this serial number here, so that would be the difference. Taking a look at the back, you'd never know that there was anything unusual about this note looking at the back. It's the exact same back as a Federal Reserve note. Don't confuse these with Federal Reserve banknotes. A Federal Reserve note was put out by the Federal Reserve, and that's who guarantees the value of the note. A Federal Reserve banknote works on the same principle as these notes, and it also says national currency on the top versus Federal Reserve note. A Federal Reserve banknote is similar to a national banknote in that the individual Federal Reserve Bank are the ones backing those particular notes. So when you see this, national currency, and over here, instead of a charter number and an individual bank, it will say Federal Reserve Bank of, that's what that would be. Those are Federal Reserve banknotes versus a Federal Reserve note. So kind of confusing, and yet the similarity to this, that should be a better explanation of what separates all three. National banknotes are from national banks. Federal Reserve banknotes are from Federal Reserve banks. And Federal Reserve notes are from the Federal Reserve in general. So that's what I've got for you guys this week. Well, before we do that, let's take a peek at the book. Here's the book. You know the book, Paper Money of the United States. What does the book have to say? There's the 20. I don't know if I can get to the 10. There's the 10s. And based on the particular state, this one being New York, this one starts off at about $75 in VF20. And make sure here, let's see. They've got Type 1s actually in VG8 are 50, Type 2s are 55, and the Type 2s are usually a little bit more, probably about 5% more, 5 to 10% more, just because there was a limited edition of those printed. Generally speaking, the further west the state and the smaller the city, the more valuable the notes are going to be. Some of the other key points on here, I don't know if this is going to show, but yeah, it talks about Type 1 and Type 2 and the dates that were happened. And another interesting fact, which I won't go into now, which are only 10, 20, 50, and $100 notes were issued, and all are now obsolete. You attach whatever definition of obsolete you would like, because that's for a whole nother video. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys this week. A $10 national currency from the Chase National Bank of the City of New York. If you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.